Hi, it's Chris. In this video, we're going to show you how to remove and install the door gasket on your Whirlpool dryer. It's a pretty easy repair. It doesn't require a whole lot of specialty tools, but it does require some glue that you'll wind up using in order to secure it into place, and it'll take a little bit of time for that to dry. Keep in mind, if your machine needs to be repaired, it's usually simple enough to do it yourself. Visit PartSelect.com, enter your model number, and quickly find and order the part you need. One of the main reasons you'll wind up having to replace this door gasket is typically just from normal wear and tear. Every time you open and close the door, the gasket is being compressed and then expanding once the door is open. And over time, it'll get chafed and it'll start to fray. And when that happens, you start losing some of the control of the air that's moving within the dryer. It starts leaking out past the door, so you'll have to replace it. So the first thing we're going to do is open the door. You can see where the gasket's all torn and needs to be replaced. Now these gaskets are glued in, physically glued right to this inner panel of the door. So we're just going to rip that off, and then we have to glue the new one in place. Now, people have had some success just trying to do this right where the door is hanging as it is, but I find, honestly, the times I've tried it that way, I just wind up getting glue all over the place, things slip out of place, and it's just a whole lot of work. So I just take a little bit extra time, and I take the door right off, and I put a cloth on top of my dryer and I put the door on that, so I'm not going to mark anything up, and it's much easier to do this repair while it's up on top of the machine instead of hanging like this. So now with the door open, and to take it off is really easy on this machine. They actually did a really great job on how they put it together. So I'm just going to take the bottom screw out of each hinge. Now with those out, I'm just going to loosen these ones up a bit. And you might want to support the door just a little as you do it. So now with those loose, we're just going to support the door and just lift it and just take these hinges from that elongated hole off the screw head. And now we can just take the door away. So now I've just put a towel down on top of the dryer so I can put the door on it and not worry about scratching the door or the top of the dryer. So to get this gasket off, I just need a little blade screwdriver. I'm just going to put in and just pry it up and break the connection where the gasket and the glue is. So I always start on the bottom, and I do this so that if I do make any kind of a mark or struggle with this a little bit, it's on the bottom part of the door, so it's never really ever seen. But once you've got it started, you can just start pulling. So now you can see it comes off that easy. You just got to rip it off. So now before we put our new one on, we just want to clean up this channel a little bit where the old glue is, just so that when we put our new glue down, it's got something good to hold on to. So I'm going to take the gasket and I'm going to stretch it a little bit, because coming out of the package, it's going to seem like it's too tight to go on. When you try to put it in place, it's going to slip out and just be a total pain. Okay, so I'm just going to take the gasket, and then I'm just going to look to place for the seam where the gasket joins together, and I'll make sure that's at the bottom of the door. So I'm just going to lay it out. I'm just going to put my arm on it, so I'm stretching the gasket, getting it into place. So once I've stretched the gasket, I'm just going to work it into its form and just let it sit for a little bit just so it can kind of start to get its shape. So the gasket will come with the adhesive. Now this is a high temperature adhesive, which basically means it's not going to soften and fall off when the dryer's up to its normal temperature of somewhere around 145 degrees to 160 degrees inside. So you only want a thin bead. You don't need a ton of glue. So when you go to put it on, you start at one spot, and I usually start at the bottom and work my way around. But you want to just run that thin bead and move fairly quickly. Otherwise you're going to wind up with big globs, and when you go to press the gasket into place, you squeeze that glue all over the place. Now that you have the glue in place, you're just going to bring your gasket in to position, get your seam, put it in the middle on the bottom, and then just flip your gasket and start working it into place. Now if you're not in a super hurry, you can actually let that glue set up a little bit with what you've got done so far, so that it's hard and it just makes it a little easier, or you just continue to work your gasket around. And then just take your cloth and just wipe off any excess glue that's squeezed out, and give it about half an hour, 45 minutes, and that glue will be well secured. So now that our glue is set up, it's just a matter of putting the door back into place. So now to put our door back on, it's really easy. We're just going to open up these hinges a little bit, And we just need to basically line up our elongated hole onto the screws that are still in the frame. So now to put the door on, it's really easy. On our hinges where we have that elongated hole, we're just going to bring it up to the screw and insert it into the hinge, and then let the weight go down so it holds it. And we just line up the bottom hinge, same thing. Lift the door a little bit so that elongated hole lines up with the screw, and then let the door drop. And then we'll just put in the other two screws that secure it. So now we'll just secure these upper screws. So now we just close our door up, make sure our latch and everything line up. And it's just that easy to replace the door gasket on your Whirlpool dryer.